What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Hope y'all are having a wonderful day. Training camp is just around the corner. We are just days away, but the rookies have officially reported. So we're going to be giving you updates every day from training camp, so I encourage you to subscribe. That way you can know what's going on around the trade front, the Alvin Kamara contract situation, injuries, all sorts of other stuff. And then on top of that, just how the team is looking headed into the 2024 season. Subscribe today. Lock us in for 100% free coverage. What's going on, Saints fans? Hope y'all are having a wonderful day like I just said. I'm back from my vacation. I am very tan. I'm very exhausted, but I'm feeling very refreshed and ready to talk some Saints football. And I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but honestly, it just wasn't really feeling like I could give you guys the best updates. So I wanted to just, get well rested and get after it today. So let's talk about Bub Means because there is some injury news around him. He was actually placed on the non-football injury list, otherwise known as the NFI list. If you guys have heard of that, it's, nothing too major to be concerned about, at least in this point of the offseason. And the reports are actually pretty positive. It's not considered to be anything serious, and he will be good to go pretty quickly. And he should be taking some of the conditioning tests and stuff pretty soon. That's coming in from Nick Underhill. So if you want more updates, he's got a lot of updates around him, and pretty much everything that's he said, we're going to narrow it down in today's video. And he can come off of the list, which is worth noting, at any time when he is healthy enough to return to practice. So I don't expect him to be, missing a lot of time at training camp. I expect him to be an active part of training camp, and I also expect him to have a big role with the New Orleans Saints. And when you look at what he was able to do in college, Bub Means was a productive player. Over 17 yards per catch in 2023, almost 15 yards per catch in 2022, and then back in 2021, and he was in Louisiana Tech, he averaged almost 20 yards per catch, and this guy had 10 touchdowns over the course of his collegiate career, averaging over 17 yards per catch, and I really, really like Bub Means, and I'm not going to sit here and say he is Michael Thomas, but I think that he could fulfill that role that you are missing from Michael Thomas. The height and weight is very, very similar, and it's actually kind of wild when you take a look at the 40-yard dash, the vertical, the relative athletic score. A lot of those things favor Bub Means, and I'm not sitting here saying that, again, he is a Michael Thomas replacement. I think he replaces the role of MT, though, and the size profile is similar, the athletic profile is really similar, and I do think that he has been really exciting coming throughout OTAs and minicamp. And Ross Jackson, he even has been reporting so many positive things, and I respect the hell out of Ross Jackson's coverage, Locked On Saints, and he does a lot of really good stuff, and he's been really, really praising the rookie. And this offseason, the physicality and the work over the middle has been really, really standing out. They've been using him on slants. They've been using him on post routes, trying to get the ball downfield but over the middle. And that reminds me a lot of what the Saints did with Michael Thomas, using a lot of slants and a lot of work over the middle. And there's been a lot of evidence in terms of, you look back at the highlights, you look at what he's been doing at OTAs thus far. He has really, really good abilities with catching the ball with his hands. It's not coming to his body. He can work on the outside. He can attack the ball at the point of catch. And I think that he could be a really, really good fit for this offense. And I believe that the Saints could value a player like Bub Means very, very highly, especially because he is one of the bigger-bodied guys. Now, A.T. Perry obviously has the height and the size advantage, but when you look at the wide receiver depth chart, you have a guy like Chris Olave who's just a do-it-all player, a bona fide wide receiver one. Rashid Shaheed, the speedster, the absolute demon. I love Rashid Shaheed. He's one of my favorite players on this team, but you have guys like Equanimous St. Brown who are, I think could be really valuable as well. Cedric Wilson, he could operate a lot in the slot, but I also don't want to take away from what Bub Means can fulfill and what he can offer to the team. I think that he can grow into a really important role, and I think that maybe not rookie season we see a lot from him, but I do think that we will see him grow into an important player for the Saints' young wide receiver core. And I go back and I look at Bub Means, and I try to compare him to Juwan Jennings and how the San Francisco 49ers used him. And, you look at his stats, and you might not be wildly impressed, but I go back and I just remember the eye test. I remember seeing Jauan Jennings making a lot of clutch plays in the playoff run for the San Francisco 49ers. I remember him making a lot of big-time plays to extend drives, to get a few touchdowns, and he was a sneaky weapon for San Francisco, and granted, he didn't have insane production, but when you have the likes of George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, just to name a few, and then across a lot of other players, you know, you're not going to be the massive standout when you're the wide receiver 4 or 5. So I want to see Clint Kubiak utilize Bub Means similar to how Jauan Jennings was utilized for the 49ers last year, because I think that would be an excellent, role for Bub Means, and I think that he could do it at a very high level. So I want you to show some love to the rookie. Type his jersey number 16 down below. We're going to spread some good vibes on this Wednesday. And just in case you didn't know, on this Wednesday, we are also going to be live at 4 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to subscribe, turn on the noti bell. We go live every single week, Wednesday around 4 p.m. Central Time, and then as well on Fridays. I will not be live this Friday. I'm going to be out of town again for a bachelor trip. But hey, I'm still going to be getting you videos. If there's news, if there's updates, I will film from the lake. No questions asked. I 100% promise you that. So be sure to subscribe. Join our live show a little bit later today. All right, last little bit of updates for the New Orleans Saints. So this was kind of a shocking thing. I literally out loud in the Chat Sports office was like, wait, hold on. What the hell? Dallin Holker just got drafted. Yeah. You remember the Saints UDFA? The really, really exciting tight end coming out of Colorado State? The guy with the best hair probably in the league? Yeah. He got drafted to the Birmingham Stallions as a tight end in the 5th round draft of the collegiate UFL 2024 draft. But I just want to say this, don't panic, guys. This just gives Holker the ability to continue playing football at a semi-professional level if he, doesn't make the practice squad, or if he doesn't make the roster, if something happens with injuries. The UFL is a spring league, so he's going to be with the Saints during the fall, and I genuinely do believe that he will have a large role, or a significant role in the roster, and I think that he will make the 53-man roster because I think that he's an exciting player. I like his size and athletic profile, and I think that when you look at the measurables and you look at the production that he had with the Colorado State Rams, he is an exciting player, and he's been getting a lot of work with the first team throughout this offseason. So to me, that shows that Clint Kubiak likes what he sees. He got paid a lot of money as an undrafted free agent, and it's a lot more than pretty much all the other undrafted free agents in the New Orleans Saints UDFA class. And 6'3", 241 pounds. The guy has arms that are so long. Ross Jackson, I love what he said one time. He was like, he could literally bend over, he could literally scratch his knee without having to bend over. Like, I'm trying to do it, and I have to bend over because my arms are, short, and that's why I'm not in the NFL. But, I mean, he's a really exciting player, and the tight end depth chart, it is, I'm not going to say underwhelming because you have Taysom Hill, and, he's not just a tight end. He's a football player. But Foster Moreau, he was a little underwhelming. Everyone remembers the drop against the Jags on Thursday Night Football. Juwan Johnson, he's dealing with injury. But Dallin Holker, worth noting, was the only addition outside of Jesper Horsted to the New Orleans Saints tight end group. And there's a lot of talk about Brock Bowers, maybe a Jatavion Sanders, but the Saints opted to not draft one or sign one in free agency ahead of the draft, and they brought in Dallin Holker. And I think that he has a role, and I think he has a spot to make an impact, and especially because of Juwan Johnson's injury. He's dealing with a foot issue. He's going to be having surgery. He is out indefinitely. And Juwan Johnson, I do believe, is a very unique player because of the size and the background as a wide receiver. I think he could be a really, really exceptional receiving tight end. He just has to stay healthy. He has to stay on the field, and he has to be given the opportunity to make the plays. So it comes down to good quarterback play, good offensive line protection, good route running from Juwan Johnson, catching the passes whenever they are thrown to him and given the opportunity. And I do want to say, because Juwan Johnson is out, maybe Dallin Holker could find himself having a little bit bigger of a role, but I also do believe that the Saints will use a lot of 2 tight end sets. So I think that this is going to be an exciting year for some of these Saints tight ends, and I think they're getting a little bit overlooked. But I want to ask you this question. Who's going to have more touchdowns this year? Juwan Johnson or Dallin Holker? Just type their initials down below, and we will see you guys live at 4 p.m. Central Time for our live show.